This time on PlazmaTech, we're answering some of your most frequently asked questions. So most of you will know Plazmaman for our intake manifolds and Pro Series intercoolers, but some of you might not know we also make a whole line of products for the most popular four-wheel drives on the market, including the D40 model Nissan Navara. Now the D40 ran from 2004 to about 2016, and even though it's been out of production for about 4 years, it still remains one of the most popular 4x4s in Australia. And one of the parts we make for them are these hot side piping replacement kits. Now, just quickly, the hot side pipe is what runs from the turbocharger to the intercooler. And because that part is hot, the air is pre-intercooler, it hasn't been cooled down yet, it's the hot side pipe. We make them out of CNC aluminium mandrel bend piping to replace the factory rubber hoses, which split pretty easily. And with the D40, we also offer two options in the pipe height. That is to accommodate for a body lift. And one of our most frequently asked questions is, well, one, what is a body lift? And two, do I need a body lift pipe? And more often than not, we find people confusing their suspension lift for a body lift. So we thought, just quickly, let's go over exactly what a body lift is. Now, for most four-wheel drivers out there, pretty much all of you will have a suspension lift. It is pretty much the most common, the first modification that any four-wheel driver does to their new rig. Now, a suspension lift is pretty simple. You're just taking the stock suspension and adding in higher ride height components. So you're putting in a taller coil spring, a longer travel shock absorber. Now, this increases the ride height of the vehicle and increases your underbody clearance, but it doesn't increase your under diff clearance. That is done by adding taller tires or bigger tires. So say going to a 33-inch tall tire, which is your most common tire size in off-roading. Once you add a taller tire package, this increases the ground clearance underneath your differentials, and it also brings the ride height of the vehicle up on a whole. Now, in a lot of cases, you're gonna need more than just a basic suspension lift to allow you to fit bigger tires, because a couple of factors come into play. That's the size of the wheel well openings on your vehicle and how much room there is for the tire to tuck up inside the guards when the suspension's fully articulated. And this is where a body lift can help with providing that clearance. Now, a body lift is in a lot of ways a little bit more basic than a suspension lift, well, basic in its premise anyway. What's happening with a body lift is that a generally 2-inch spacer, whether that's made of aluminium or in some cases polyurethane, is taken and sandwiched in the body mounts of the 4x4. Now, in most cases, most four-wheel drives are a body on frame construction. And to demonstrate, we have our little friend here. So most four-wheel drives, as I just said, are a body on frame construction. That means the chassis and the body are two separate parts, unlike say your Ford Falcon or Holden Commodore, which is a unibody construction where the body and frame are one whole piece. So when you have a body on frame construction, the body has to mount to the frame at certain points. And with a body lift, we're taking that block of aluminium or polyurethane and putting it in the body mounts to raise the gap between the body and the chassis. And in doing so, that gives more clearance for bigger tires. Now, this introduces a whole range of other problems once you raise the body away from the chassis. Because all your drivetrain is mounted to the chassis, but everything that controls that, like your steering and your gear stick, is mounted to the body, well then sometimes extensions have to be made to let your gear stick work properly, or you have to extend your steering column and things like that. And it also affects the piping for your engine, and that's why we offer the body lift pipe. So you can see here there's a significant height difference between these two pipes. This one is your standard pipe, this one is your body lift pipe. The body lift pipe has been shortened because once you body lift your Navara, the intercooler is attached to the body. The engine is attached to the chassis. So as you're raising the body away from the chassis with the body lift, that means the outlet for the intercooler has just raised in height away from the outlet of the turbocharger. And in doing so, we have to have a shorter pipe. So now you know the difference between a body lift and a suspension lift. Really important to know. So if you have only a suspension lift in your Nissan Navara D40, you don't need the body lift pipe. But if you do have a body lift, and even if it's just on its own or with a suspension lift, if you've got the body lift, you need the body lift pipe. The standard piping kit will not fit. Now, the next most common phone call or email we get is about our intake manifolds, but it might surprise you what they're asking about. It's not about, oh, will this work on my engine? How much power will I get? Instead, it's asking about these threaded ports right here and here on this intake. These are our vacuum ports. These threads inside are NPT, or National Pipe Thread. NPT is short for American National Standard Pipe Thread, and it's the US national standard for threaded fittings for pipes. And it's one of 3 fitting types that you'll find used in most automotive cases. That's NPT, BSP, and AN, or more commonly known as a dash fitting. In the case of our vacuum ports, it's NPT, and the sizes from smallest to largest are 1/8, 1/4, and 3/8. And that works out to be about 10.2 mil for the smallest one, about 13.6 for the next biggest one, and about 17.1 for the largest. So those again, 1/8 MPT, 1/4 MPT, 3/8 MPT. Now, last but not least is intercooler sizing, and you might think, what's a frequently asked question about intercooler sizes? I mean, they're all listed on our website. Well, as is the standard with most intercooler makers, the sizes listed are just the core size, which is here. So, right here like that, not including the end tanks. So the measurements are usually from here to here, and here to here, and the thickness of the core itself. So in the case of this one, it's 600 by 300 by 100 millimeters. But some good information to know, especially when you're sizing up an intercooler for your custom build, is the overall size. And this is a very frequently asked question we get. In most cases, with our Pro Series intercooler, using a standard Pro Series end tank like this cooler here, the end tanks will add approximately 220 millimeters to the overall width of the intercooler. So in the case of this one here, which is a 600 millimeter core, the overall width is approximately 820 millimeters. Now, with the intercooler fully finished and the end tanks in place, that does push out the thickness a little bit as well. So in the case of this 100 millimeter intercooler, the total thickness of it is now approximately 110 mil. So something to factor in when you're sizing up for your custom intercooler. So that was some of our most frequently asked questions, and if you have any more questions, you can hit us up on Facebook, send us an email to sales@plazmaman.com, or if you have a specific question you'd like to see answered on the PlazmaTech video, drop us a line on Facebook, or maybe one of these videos right here could answer your question.